Okay, there she is.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I think we can call the meeting to order. This is going to be a quick one, so don't blink. It'll be gone. Jessica, can we start with roll call, please?
Yep. Ben Bompog,
Here.
Chris Hassig,
Here.
Lonnie Kitching,
Here.
Colin Laird,
Here.
Marty Silverstein,
Here.
Erica Sparhawk,
Here.
Luis Yanes,
Here.
all present.
All right. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, everybody, for remembering. I barely remembered myself, but we made it. Only item is the consent agenda other than some comments. So the consent agenda consists of accounts payable and ordinance 13 series of 2023, which is an option to ground lease with Art Space and the Thompson Divide withdrawal support letter. Maybe Lauren, could you just give us a quick overview of what we're agreeing to and the option to ground lease? Because my understanding is it's not the lease itself, it's just the option. So maybe just clarify that for us, please.
That's correct. This is for the purpose of being able to go forward with the application for CHFA financing, the tax increment financing. And it does have some of the terms of the ground lease in it, like the fact that we will agree to whatever CHFA requires, excuse me, in order to get that financing. But this just gets us closer to Art Space being able to say to CHFA that they definitely have control of the property, or they will have control of the property on the ground in order for them to get the financing. Does that make sense?
Yep. And the lots listed in there, that's just the lots along 6th Street and then those southern.
That's correct. That's for the 39 units that were talked about already.
Okay.
The ones
Any
on the
questions?
promenade at the very beginning and the building on 6th.
Great. Any other questions for Lauren or anything about the 3 items on the consent agenda?
No, move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Luis, is that a question?
I do. I have one question regarding Art Space, and I just wanted to kind of ask if it's a conflict of interest with Art Space. My understanding is they'll be hiring Amy Kimberly, and she's also a board member of Thunder River Theater. So just, in the interest of full transparency, and I want us to be, completely on.
I'm sorry, Luis, what is the conflict that you're thinking about?
I just wonder if it's a conflict of interest with Amy Kimberly being hired by Art Space, and she's also on the board of Thunder River Theater, who is, one of the organizations that will be working with Art Space.
What has she been hired by Art Space to do?
I don't know yet, but my understanding is she will be hired by Art Space. So,
well, I don't know anything about her being hired by Art Space, but if Carbondale Arts is a tenant, that's
it's not so much Carbondale Art. I think it's more Thunder River Theater, and she's
Thunder River Theater.
She's their board president.
Well, I think it depends on what she's hired for. I mean, we have her hired right now to help us write grants.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know. We could certainly ask Mark about that, but with regard to our input and interests in affordable housing, at least at this point, none of the things that we're talking about have anything to do with really the Thunder River Theater.
Okay.
At least with regard to the option to ground lease.
Yeah, I just wanted to have full transparency on that. So thank you.
Thanks, Luis. Any other questions? All right, we have
the Lonnie's motion.
Okay, great. Thanks. So we have motion by Lonnie to approve the consent agenda and second by Chris. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. So that was our one action item. Anybody present not on the agenda? I thought I saw one person over there in the participant list. If you're present and you would like to speak to the board, just raise your Zoom hand and we'll allow you to speak. If not, we will keep moving. Trustee comments? Any comments from any trustees this morning? Other than happy holidays and all that. All right. Attorney's not here. Lauren, do you want to give us an update on anything going on with the newcomers since we last met?
Sure. There's not a ton that's new. The I think I can say it out loud now. We have come to an agreement, even though we haven't signed anything yet, with the Methodist Church on Second Street to use part of that building as a shelter. They did not want us to talk about it until they told their congregants, which they were supposed to do on Christmas Eve. So we'll be working this week to with Mark to figure out what our use agreement should be with them. But that won't start until probably the 2nd or 3rd of January. There's some work that needs to be done on the building first, the safety things like the fire department is working on getting the fire extinguishers recharged and smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors redone. We have to get some porta potties there, some exit signs, just the basic OSHA and building official stuff. Aaron's been working on that. Also, we're pretty well set with the back of the boardroom as a shelter for up to 20 people. We just didn't want to put people in there and then have me be away and not have any staff and still be negotiating with Recovery Resources to manage the process, which I believe they have agreed. They gave us a proposal to be our response managers. So we're walking through exactly what that means with them right now. We also are in the process of hiring a couple of people. We have one particular individual who's going to be a volunteer response coordinator. We have a couple of people through Recovery Response who are going to be present at shelters in the mornings and the evenings. We do have our security, although I think he was off for a couple of days. And I had another individual call me or email me Christmas Eve saying that she's from Venezuela and she's bilingual and she is willing to do whatever we need her to do to help with this situation. And she looks like she has some good qualifications. So we are getting much, much closer. Rob Stein and I were emailing early this morning, and he's going to go ahead while I'm away and get whoever we can get in there started. But I'll know more about that later today, and I'll email the trustees and just let you know.
Okay. Any progress on getting kind of the web presence up for FAQs and stuff?
Well, Anna was not there, but she had promised me that this would go up as soon as she got back. So I don't know if she's in yet this morning.
Okay.
Jessica, you might know that, but I will check in with her immediately.
Okay. I even wondered if we wanted to use the Carbondale Connect, the Bang the Table platform, like if this becomes more interactive and we want to be able to respond to questions or something. But
we do have an email that we're going to be publicizing. It's just newcomer response at carbondaleco.net. So if people have problems or if they have questions, they can email that as well.
Okay, great. Questions for Lauren about the newcomer response and progress since last time? Luis?
Yes, with the town hall property and those 20 spaces, would those be spaces that would be taken from the folks that are over at the 3rd Street Center?
Probably. anybody who's already in shelter, we're not going to kick them out of shelter if they end up not being able to be at the Third Street Center. I do have to talk to Colin, and I don't know if he's given any kind of report yet, but I know that he was in discussions with his board about the future of that. So it really depends on whether or not there's still anybody at the Third Street Center, or whether those people are being moved out and split between these other two shelters.
Yeah, I mean, Colin can go more into it, but we did meet, and as the liaison to the Third Street Center, the plan is to phase that down by the end of January. So,
Okay. Yeah, and I'll talk to you later about that, Colin, too, about exactly what you have in mind.
And how about the parking? Have people moved away from Third Street Center for overnight parking unless they're staying there? And is that working around Thunder River?
They have not moved yet. I did throw that to Vosa Unitas last week, but I don't think they did anything about it. So that's going to have to be our people going over there and security going over there and telling them that they need to move their cars. And part of that's going to be if people are staying at the Third Street Center and their car is parked back there, that might be okay. But camping in their car behind the Third Street Center is not okay.
Right. Okay. Other questions? Comments? Colin, anything you want to share? Any status updates from the Third Street Center?
No,
Okay. Luis?
so one of the question, and I know there's still sort of the issue of the temporary protective status and allowing these the in-house to work. You know, I was thinking about it a little bit over the weekend, and the fact that we're not getting practically any help or guidance from the federal government, it makes me think, why are we listening to that? Why are we paying any attention to that? And should we just allow them to work? I know that's obviously, you know, in some capacity within the town of Carbondale, because it just feels like they're pretty much not doing anything when it comes to not the newcomers, but the federal government when it comes to any support whatsoever for this, especially for a mountain community like ours. So that's just, sorry, that probably should have fallen under trustee comments, but there's plenty of stuff that I'm sure the town and other businesses need help with. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, right? Because we don't control work authorization. So I think if it were up to us, we'd probably do that. But I think, and I think every place is equally frustrated. I think the big cities, especially with the slow progress on getting people protected status. I don't know what else we can do about it, but I share your frustration.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't let that stop us when it came to marijuana at a federal level. So
Yeah.
There are businesses that are hiring them under the table. But in general, even the temp agency, Mountain Temps, they have tons of jobs, but they can't really legally hire them without risking their business.
yeah, I mean, I'd be curious if we could do anything as a municipality with, you know, Mark's guidance to, I don't know, find a loophole or something.
Yeah, I mean, it might be something to do a little research on if you're interested in, Louise, see if other cities have done it. I mean, I usually trust with things like that, somebody's thought of it, right? And so what those limitations are, I'm gonna guess that they're significant and that I'm gonna guess that no matter what the town says about authorization, that, it wouldn't hold up and that people would be putting themselves at legal risk if they hired against federal and state law. But yeah, share your concern and, maybe it's worth a little bit of Googling around to see if any other places figured out a way to give some sort of local work authorization. I think we'd have to be careful there, just like we've been careful this whole time, to not then broadcast the message that, you can work in Carbondale, you can't work in all these other places, so everybody go to Carbondale. So we just have to continue to maintain that balance. But I share your frustration with the lack of a coordinated national effort to help these folks be self-sufficient by being able to work. Other thoughts on the response or questions or updates needed there? Okay. Anything else, Lauren, on managers' comments?
No, not at the moment. As I said, I'll certainly email everybody, as I get more details today. The holiday kind of put a bunch of gaps in my knowledge. for
Yeah.
People I didn't want to contact on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So, but I think Rob Stein is back today. And I did email our, assistant finance director and let her know that that Rob was going to be bringing at least one person in to be onboarded as a temporary employee. And we're going to try to get these contracts going with the Methodist Church and with Recovery Response. We're also working with the school district to arrange for dinners, at least dinners, a few days a week in January and going forward, so that there's a central place that people can go eat. I don't think it's a great idea for us to have everybody eating where they're sleeping. And also, there's a lot of things to think through, like custodial issues and just those kinds of things. I think the Methodist Church the basement of the Methodist Church will probably end up being a day shelter. The town hall will only be a night shelter, probably from 5:30 in the afternoon to somewhere close to 8 in the morning. So that room will still be usable during the day. I say usable, we don't really use the back of that room, but at least it'll be quiet for people trying to get business done. And then what we're going to do with regard to board meetings and commission meetings is sort of play it by ear and see if we can still have those without interruption. And if we end up having to move some meetings, we'll move some meetings. We did unhook the speakers that go into the back of the room, and we took down the television. So we're just gonna have to see how that works and adjust accordingly.
Okay, well, thanks to staff for making all those accommodations. We know it's going to have an impact, but hopefully the impact will be minimal as a night shelter. But I know that people have been pulled off their regular duties to help out with that, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our meeting. Anything else for the good of the group? All right, meeting adjourned. Safe travels if you're out of town, and have a happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
All right.
Thanks.